Imagine being overcome with a feeling of fear, dread, and worry so intense that you are unable to function, let alone make it to class or write a paper. This is one facet of anxiety that many college students deal with every day. According to NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, an estimated 40 million adults in the U.S., or 18%, have an anxiety disorder. NAMI explains that we all have anxiety at some point, but persistent, excessive fear or worry in situations that are not threatening crosses into an anxiety disorder, such as panic disorder, phobias, generalized anxiety disorder, and social anxiety disorder.
I can remember being a really anxious kid. I think a lot of people thought I was acting out. I think one of the first times I remember having an anxiety episode was in the second grade. We watched some video in class and I started stressing out, like my heart was pumping, and the teacher took me out of the class and she let me drink some water or something like that. I didn't know to call it anxiety then, but I definitely had multiple episodes through elementary school. I fell behind in my schoolwork. I had a lot of AP classes and I had flu for a week. And when I came back, I was drowning so hard in school that I started to have panic attacks, but we didn't know what they were. So I ended up going to the hospital and getting a prescription for Xanax.
I was sitting in class and I had a really bad panic attack and I had to walk out. And I just remember everybody looking at me and I just did not know how to handle myself.
It looks different in everyone. And just because it looks different, that isn't an indicator of how much easier or harder it is for someone else. I started going to therapy, and I also started taking medication for my anxiety. A lot of anxiety medications are not great. A lot of them you can get addicted to. Xanax is famous for that. I was afraid to take some of the more serious anxiety medications. So it took me a long time to find the right medications. I still don't think I'm on the right medications for anxiety. I still struggle with anxiety a lot, but definitely medication helped and therapy helped. And I'm currently in therapy. I'm always in therapy. I will never not be in therapy.
I know what makes me anxious, so I try not to obviously put myself in those kind of situations. And then I have people in my life to support me really well. And OU does a really good job about reaching out and having a lot of programs.
One of the most important things you can do if you know somebody with anxiety disorder is to look up what the problem is. They can give you information about it, but they're a biased source. It's difficult for you to talk about what's going on with yourself and your own mental health. I think my mom, when she figured out that I had a problem, she definitely looked up anxiety disorders and what to do, and they have better tips than I have. Because, when I'm in the middle of a panic attack, I can't think about anything. I can't tell you how to coach me. I'm in the midst of a panic attack. I would say the number one thing you shouldn't do with a friend who has an anxiety disorder is tell them to calm down. Tell them to breathe. These are useless tips. But there's just the fear that for every person that understands you and believes you, there's going to be a person that doesn't. So it's scary to talk about something that personal and debilitating, and knowing that some people aren't going to take it seriously.
I think there's actually a lot to help and a lot of people trying to talk about it and make it normal, and with our generation, I think that's really cool.
People, different businesses and professions are afraid of having people who are mentally ill on staff because they think that they're going to be violent, or they think they're going to be difficult, or they think they're going to miss a lot of work. They don't want to accommodate people. So society is set up, to, I guess, make things difficult for the mentally ill and make them feel not welcome in this world. And so why would you want to talk about it if you're afraid that people are going to judge you? Trying to accept people and not invalidate them is a really big deal. And also paying attention to people's individual needs.
I would just say find what makes you happy, whether it's going on a walk or, painting. I like to paint. I like to write. I like to talk to people. But you can't take something that other people do, whether it might help you, which absolutely great. But you can't take what other people might tell you to do and think that's going to work for you.
Millions of people have mental illnesses, millions, and we act like, and for some reason still, it's this quiet hidden thing that people are surprised when you have it. I have multiple friends who have a mental illness, different, degrees of illness, but I have lots of friends who struggle with anxiety or depression. We need to start talking about it.
There is a stigma surrounding mental illness, but there needn't be. These are treatable brain diseases, and the people who have them, like people who have illnesses like diabetes and cancer, need our compassion and support. With treatment, people with anxiety disorders and other mental illnesses can recover and do well in school. Educate yourself about mental illnesses like anxiety disorders by visiting NAMI.org. If you or a friend is having anxiety or other mental health issues, you can find help at Ohio University's Counseling and Psychological Services at Hudson Health Center. Ohio University's Student Accessibility Services in Baker Center also offers help to students and can offer help with accommodations and other services. Your understanding can make a day on campus better for someone with an anxiety disorder.